Hello everyone, this is Domina Mara and welcome back to our channel. We're going to be doing a interview celebrating Pride Month today, and we have a special guest. Thank you for joining us. Hello everyone, this is Domina Mara and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing an interview celebrating Pride Month, and we have a very special guest today. Thank you for joining me. Please introduce your name and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Glitteress. I'm a drag artist here in LA. I've been in the scene for over 6 years now. I do a lot of fundraising, a lot of advocacy, and I perform all over the city, and I've done some international gigs. I love the art form of drag, and it has brought me so much closer to the community and my own queerness, and yeah, I'm here to just be pink and fun.
Yay! You look fabulous.
Thank you.
Yes, I love it. So, what are your pronouns?
Okay, so I always say my pronouns are tired.
Same girl. Oh my god, me too.
So, in drag, she, her. But as like my out of drag persona, it's kind of interesting, and I've been kind of on a queer journey with that actually. Nothing has felt like more correct, except for I did a scene with the amazing Jeff Goldblum, and he called me a young David Bowie, and so my pronouns are David Bowie.
Yes, I absolutely love that. I actually know his drummer for his band.
Shut up!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We've been to his birthday party. Jeff Goldblum actually was there, but I missed him by like 10 minutes.
He is an absolute gem, and just like a hearth of just like curiosity and warmth and love. Like I could have talked to that man for days. He was incredible.
I love that. Oh, that's so special. I love that. And how would you define drag, and what does that mean to you? Like, what does drag mean to you?
That's such a good question. I think drag is such a multi-layered, multifaceted thing, and I think even given in the current climate of things, with countless bills being on the table about anti-drag, anti-trans, which trans and drag being obviously separate entities, very interwoven. I think a lot of people find their trans identity through drag, and just their queerness through drag. For me, I would say it's a celebration of an extension of oneself, because I think a lot of people, I think you could ask everyone this question and get a very different answer, because I think there's always gonna be some overlap. Like, drag is performance. Drag is a heightened version of yourself, and it is freedom, it is a celebration and extension of oneself, and I think it is such a beautiful art form because the expression can be anything and everything you want it to be. You know, like today I'm a pink unicorn, I was a gingerbread man 48 hours ago. You know, and I think that is the performance that I love so much about it, is that it's truly something that when I realized what it was, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this forever. Because I have complete control, you know, and I think that's what is so intimidating to people, is I think drag artists, kings, queens, and everything in between are so freely themselves, and it is a constant evolution and change. And so for me, it's just a celebration of loving yourself so much harder. And without sounding cliche, it's just the truth. It's made me really dig into myself in ways that I didn't even know was possible. So. What
was that moment for you?
The moment of discovering drag, or
yes.
What was, discovering drag. So I was acting for a long time, and it was fun, but I didn't want to play the gay best friend or secretary for the rest of my life, and I wanted more control. And a friend of mine sent me a video of Alaska Thunderfuck, which is, if you're not familiar, is a very big drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race, and I just loved her art form, and I saw this music video, and I was just blown away. I was like, what is this? Because I knew what drag was, but I think I thought of drag in this capacity of the Paris is Burning documentary. If you're not familiar, you should watch it. It's a staple. I think it still might be on Netflix, and I think they bring it back for Pride. Anyway, so I think I thought of it as an older person thing, which is so bizarre. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want with this. So yeah, drag for me is freedom, and that discovery of seeing that, I was like, oh my God, I want to have control of every single aspect of this. And so that was like the absolute discovery of like, oh, it's on. And that was over 7 years ago.
Amazing. Speaking of discoveries though, I discovered Glitteress because I was dancing with Raid as a go-go dancer, and we feature drag queens throughout the night, and she was one of them as Gaga, Lady Gaga, doing paparazzi.
Yes.
And she knew the whole dance, and I was so impressed. I had to go up to her afterwards and say, oh my God, you know the entire dance. And she's like, of course. and yeah, this is how we've progressed.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So, do you have a certain look? You kind of answered this, but let's dive deeper into it. Or does it change depending on the mood or the event?
That is, I would say it absolutely changes. I think there's a lot of people in the scene who like, this is a look, like same makeup, same look, constantly, which is, I mean, that's branded. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I love to mix it up. Like, I think my eye makeup's shade stays pretty consistently. But like color and scope of what I do, yes. Like I said, a gingerbread man 48 hours ago and a pony today. You know, and so I think it really, it just depends on my mood. Like really like, and I think I always say I'm like punk if it went pink is how I describe it. Like, because like luckily I have a reputation of being very nice, and I like to nurture that, but also like I can put a bitch in a place if I need to. You know,
like a true dog.
You know, so and I have to, you know, but no, I love, like I'm also like big into like leather stuff, and so like when I met you, I think we briefly talked about it, and just like a little bit of like the PVC to leather, the like dom sub nature of it all anyway. And that I find that really interesting and enticing, but I think we get a little bit cute.
Oh, much more cute. Sparkly too.
Period.
All right, so how do you get inspiration for your drag attire?
Everywhere. So my partner, we both sew. So I actually made the cast I'm wearing currently.
Wow.
I didn't make this. I love to say I made the flute, but I didn't do hair. I had hair. I don't do hair. I'm learning to do hair, but I have no desire to do hair. Everything. Like, so we are those queer people that literally have like a glass of wine and watch runway shows. Like, we're those people. So fashion, huge. I mean, pop culture. I mean, I think any drag artist worth their salt is gonna pull from pop culture. I love weird like references where I'll hear like an audio clip and I go, oh, I want to make that mix. Like just from like one little audio clip. Like there's an interview from Cameron Diaz where she literally says, "Being famous is my job." And I was like, what an insane thing to say. And so I have a whole mix from a Miss Kid song where she's like talking about like being famous is so that, and it's just like over the top, making fun of it. And so I kind of pull from everything. I think that's what's so inspiring is I think that's why I know I'll never stop, is because it's always around me. Like I have like 6 mixes in my head right now that I just haven't had the time to do.
Yeah.
So
amazing. I mean, that's something that we as doms don't really talk about because we're actually almost the opposite unless we're performing on stage, where we're in private spaces. But we get to choose the music that vibes with us or to set the mood. And some people don't even like music, so it's just literally the sounds that are happening at that moment. But I wish I could have music on all the time because like music is a huge part of my life as well.
What's a song that you play in your dungeon?
Oh man, I actually go really, I have a playlist on Spotify for this. I can link it.
Share it!
In the description box below. I have one just for BDSM play, and then I have one that I have picked for myself because I like a lot of drum and bass and fast electronic music.
Oh, we're gonna be... I'm gonna send you, so I have 2 playlists, one's Electro Bitch, and it's like 10 hours of just electronic music. And I have another one which is Housewife, H-A-U-S, and it's all house music. I got you. And then of course, another playlist called The Gay Agenda, so you get it.
I mean, that's what I could play when I'm getting ready.
Right, exactly.
I love that. Alrighty, so what do you think drag brings to the LGBTQIA plus community?
I think, and this is something that has like, it really, like even you ask that like weirdly makes me emotional. It brings an accessibility and a welcome nature that I think if I went out just as my, queer self out of drag, I think the interactions I would have with people are going to be very different in any location.
Yeah.
But in the scope of nightlife and just like usual drag spaces and parades and all those things, I have a few like little anecdotes that really show the scope of what it is, especially in the light of all this like bullshit, like child grooming shit, which is so misplaced. There's never been a case, and I'm gonna say this in camera, there has never ever been a confirmed case of pedophilia from a drag artist, ever. Meanwhile, thousands and thousands and thousands of cases within the Catholic Church exist. Just saying. That pisses me off more than anything in the world. Especially because of this story. So with Delta Airlines with LA, I was Miss Delta for a few years, and I was dressed like a flight attendant in drag. It was so much fun. I did the parade with them for years pre-COVID, and there was this little kid that ran out in the middle of the parade, and they literally stopped the parade. So this little kid, because he ran out and hugged my leg, and I mean he couldn't have been. He was like 5. And he just looked up to me, and it literally like almost brings me to tears every time. He's like, "You're so beautiful," you know. And it like you know, it's just those things where it's like, I didn't have that, you know, like I didn't have that, you know. And that's like everyone's gonna react different to those situations. Like that kid needed that.
And that kid also already understood. Yeah, they saw it and they were like, "Oh my god, I have to do something. Part of me wants to." And
the best part of the whole thing was the dad trailing behind the kid and was like, "Sorry." I was like, "Do not we will be here all day. Let this kid hug you if we need to." You know, and I was like, "I will stop this parade." So you know, and then another one is like, you know, I've had so many heartfelt moments with people out in drag. And in a way that I wouldn't if I was just out as just out like just my queer normal self, because I think there's an accessibility, a warmth and welcomeness to it. And I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I think that's a lot of people's experience. Like I have a weekly show in West Hollywood. You know, I do shows all over LA, and I mean I have a million stories, but one that really sticks out to me is there was this man. This happened last week actually. There's a million, but I'll say the one that was like most recent in my mind. Like there was this man, by the way, in shoes. Maybe 7 foot. I was living. He's like 7 foot tall in shoes. Older queer person. I would guess like maybe late 50s, early 60s. So excited to be on our Tuesday bingo show. Like so beyond excited. And he's like, you know, and we were talking for a bit, and he stops me. He's like, "You are so welcoming." He's like, "I need this tonight." He's like, "I wish I could be." You know, and then he asked me my age, I was like 31. And you know, and he's like, "I wish I could go back in time like 30 years and have this experience." Like, you know, it's like, you know, we were fighting a fucking AIDS epidemic at that time, you know, and it's so crazy and I tell those two stories specifically because someone who is an elder in the community versus a kid who, let's be face it, is gonna be a weirdo when they grow up, you know, and meeting those two individuals specifically, like it's such a reminder that like, this is always important. It's always present, and and also drag's been around forever, and so it just those are the things that like will always energize me to do it.
Yeah, so. It's just become really mainstream now, and I'm living for it just because I feel like a lot of people were so closeted for the longest time and weren't able to, or like beat up because of those things in certain cities all around the world, not just here in the US. It is bad here, but like. You know, and I love that it's also ageless. Like it doesn't matter how old you are. It's something that's part of you, and like when you recognize it and you recognize what's out there, it just calls to you. So.
And it's so important to, and you know, especially in the queer scene, like you know, a lot of our elders did die, you know, because of the AIDS epidemic, or you know, were attacked, or you know, whatever horrifying action was taken against them. You know, I mean, as a prime example, like there's so many drag elders, and they would beat me in the face if I called them drag elders to their face. But there's so, you know, like I saw, you know, are you familiar with Sherry Vine? You know, Sherry. So Sherry Vine is a huge name in LA, and honestly, kind of all over. And like, you know, her and Peaches Christ and Heklina, who just recently died, and you know, rest in peace. Like, you know, they've been doing. You know, I saw Sherry Vine's show like 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and it was a one-woman show. It was an hour, and beginning to end, I was just smiling like an idiot, you know, because she's a pro, you know, and it's one of those things that like, it is so important to showcase all ages, and because it truly does include everyone.
Yeah.
So
that's a long time too to do a show.
It is a long
especially
time.
now because everybody does like variety shows, and for her to like maintain stage for like an hour.
Powerhouse. And to see someone so comfortable in their element.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I bet it's you when you're the dom in those scenarios. Like I'm sure there's an empowerment with you that you're like you feel so comfortable in your skin, and like watching Sherry, it's such a reminder that like. It's just inspiring, and like whether you're a drag artist or not, like seeing someone kick ass at what they do, that's the best. Like if someone's like, I'm gonna make you the best damn chocolate chip cookie you've ever seen, I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah. And what I love about drag, because I'm still new to the community, and actually I got more into it because of relations with another person that I did a performance with. So we combined drag and bondage on stage for Pride last year. But also I was performing for Burning Man with Fire, and we were doing a runway, and we switched genders. So like all the females were drag kings, all the cis males were, in drag, and it wasn't the best looking crowd, but we tried, and we put on a good show.
But it's the spirit of it, what I mean? Like it could be the crunchiest, crustiest drag.
It was super crusty, but we took inspiration, especially from the TV show. No, it was Legendary.
Oh, yes.
That was like super intense. We were watching it like every week, all 3 seasons. We finished it.
Listen, we could have a whole other thing about it. Just Legendary for me, massive.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, and then, okay, so how do you think drag influences the society,
So I think, I'm going to say geopolitically. I'm going to use that word specifically because I think geopolitically, drag is like nothing else for a queer movement because it permeates, fucking Biloxi, Idaho. Do you know what I mean? That's even because I grew up in Kansas, and like I am blown away when I go home and I do shows in Kansas City. I never thought that would be a thing, and even when I go to smaller towns in Kansas, like there's drag, and it may not be the craziest scene, but like it's permeating in the way that like I never thought it would exist. And I think the number one thing, like I avoid jargon, I avoid buzzwords, because you can't have an honest conversation with anyone using those, because they immediately have an idea of what that is versus an actual like execution or explanation of what that is. And I say execution because executing exposure to any space is so important. Like, for instance, I dress like pretty queer when I go home because they're not like LA, like you see all types of people. It's completely diverse, but like you're not going to see that in Biloxi, Idaho, wherever I said, and so when you see these people walk around and you're exposed to it, I don't know how many times I see like the straightest, most cis men or women, honestly. I had women who like thought drag was like making fun of women until they went to a show and they were like, now I get it. I don't know how many times they've been like, oh my god, like you were amazing, it's not my thing, but I enjoyed that. It's like, well, that's a start.
Yeah.
And so I think
for sure.
I think exposure is everything. So I think drag being as widespread as it is now, like it can be as mainstream as it ever gets. It's still punk rock. It's still something that is going to be fought against, hence all the bills that are active and in process of trying to be active. I think it's more important than ever, and drag artists educating themselves on their states, because you're going to encounter countless people that are going to have questions, and you should be able to answer those things, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And then, so gonna go into a little spiel now to also help educate my viewers. Trans is a very, very delicate range, right? And so transgendered girls can either be identified as female in a cis male body or actually transition through surgery to make the person feel more comfortable in their own skin permanently. There are also cross-dressers, previously known as transvestites, but we won't be using this term today because it is hugely outdated. And it is seen really like callously offensive, especially if you call somebody, or as they used to call people, trannies.
Yeah.
So don't do that. So these cross-dressers are people who dress, they're cis males who dress as women to get more in touch with their feminine side, which I will dive into more in the next question. But would you consider yourself as a trans person at all?
No. I mean, like I said, like, I really, like, I'm kind of on my own journey with that, like I said. Like, I identify, like, queer feels correct. I definitely identify as a queer person. Drag artist, like, I don't even say, like, drag queen for myself anymore. I really do just say drag artist. That fits more because it is my art form, it is my performance. Queer is who I am, drag is what I do. And talking about trans people, trans is who they are, drag is what they do if they do drag. That is a different vein, they're not the same thing. And kind of, I want to touch on what you said about, just something to kind of elaborate what you said about surgeries. There's plenty of trans people who will obviously never have surgery and be validated in their trans experience. There's going to be countless people who, maybe they totally dress, the gender they were assigned at birth and identify otherwise, and I think that's why it's so important that, like, as long as you feel comfortable in your skin, whatever level that may be, and that can change,
Of course, yeah.
And it does, like, I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago, and neither are you, and, neither is, I would say, most people, unless you're stagnant. That's a different problem.
Yes.
So I will say that, like, talking about transness, I think a lot of people are under the impression that transness is just about surgeries to validate their experience, and I'm so glad you said that, because it's something that, I know people who, identify as trans for decades, and, they do appear to be the gender they want to appear as, but I think that is such a wide net in the most beautiful way. And it's just like cis people look all different, trans people look all different. And I think normalizing that is so important. And even within the queer community, I think trans people really aren't validated the way that they should be. Especially in dating culture. Like, I'm not going to pretend to speak to like trans dating life. Like, I can't speak on that. But what I can speak on is my friends' experience that have talked to me about it, where it's like, really finding a partner that is not going to fetishize you.
Yes.
And not be able, and just be able to date you for your actual authentic trans self.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And also the respect that comes with it. Like, I have somebody who I've also done like a short film with, and they are cis male, they look cis male, and everybody online still calls them he. Yeah. And she identifies as she. Yeah. And so I will always call her a she. Yeah. And her, her name is Zoe, and I just want to give a lot of love to her because, I don't know if she's seen a lot of the comments, but she's never said a word because this is the fight that trans people have to go with. And, we also have, I have a friend who actually transitioned within the last 5 years. She was a cis male and then, is married to a cis female. And the cis female wife was just like, yeah, if that's what you need to do it. And over the years, they've been just trying out like how they feel in their own body, growing their hair out, and the whole thing. And it's just really awesome to see like all of their friends also just being really inviting and just welcoming to their journey. Because it is a journey. We're always evolving. Like some people who are in kink, they don't stay doms or they don't stay subs. They become something else. You know what I
like to say? Instead of journey, I say adventure. Because because journey sounds like hardships and adventure just sounds fun.
That's true. I like it. Well, an adventure could be dangerous too. But yeah, I like
where you are.
No, it's true. I love that.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. I was going to talk about cross-dressing, but I think you have another question about it.
Yes. So in the kink world, cross-dressers are vastly different from transgender people, even though, they used to have trans in the beginning of the word as well. So cross-dressers tend to dress up as a woman for their own sexual pleasure. Some cis males get aroused while identifying as a man transformed into a woman while being dressed, and that's called feminization. And others like being like caged in chastity while being humiliated by a dominant woman, and that's called sissification. Are you someone that gets turned on by being in a feminine form? And how is you being in drag different from a sissy in your personal opinion?
So you know what's funny is my drag name is literally Glitteress, and no, it's really I like being sexy in drag. Like a lot of my persona, like I did this number where I took off like 16 panties over 6 minutes into the song. It's this like drag, this like cabaret thing that I do. And what's funny is I never thought of my drag as sexual, which is stupid because it's so sexual. But like personally for me, it's not to be sexual. Like it's truly performance and being a heightened version of my femininity. But no, it's not a sexual thing for me. Like I've never like a lot of people are very attracted to it, which is enticing. Like I will admit, like that's enticing. I've never really followed down that path. It's not off the table. It's just something that like there's so much going on, and so for that to like get there would be such a different level of things. For me personally, especially historically speaking, there's so much drag culture and trans culture, and I use it interchangeably in this way because the amount of sex work and dom and sub play and and bondage and just fetish wear in general are all linked to kind of the grassroots of like what we think of like modern drag is. There's so much of that, and especially like that man I was telling you about that I met last week, like he identifies as a crossdresser, so it was so specific, and I think it was kind of his like way to like it because he was like showing me photos of his phone. He was like, "Oops, not that one." I was like, "Girl, sure."
Accidentally.
Sure, but it was him. Like, and I could tell he was very aroused by him being sissified, and it was like presenting female and like very cross-dressy way, not a drag way.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he's like, this one's for me. And even the word choice was really fascinating. So yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, like he was like oh, like because he'd be like, oh, this one. He's like, oh, this one's just for me. He's like, oh, this one is. He was like, oh, this one's for when I go out. And it was a very different, like at home, and you could tell it was like more adventurous at home, rather than just being like out was gonna obviously be a little bit more subdued,
right? For
social.
But
purposes.
It's so funny because I feel like these are also very like exhibitionist.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily a performance per se. It's more like they're playing on like a mental and emotional thing with themselves on like what other people are thinking about them and how they're identifying as like how feminine they are.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really big difference too. It's just like theirs is more of like it's a mental game, and but it's broad too, because you can say it's spiritual as well, so I'm sure.
Listen, there's all kinds of spiritual practices. I would actually agree with that. Like, that's a good point. Like, I think sexuality by nature can be very spiritual and very healing, and unfortunately also very damning, but that's a wide net as well. But yeah, I agree. I think it can be very spiritual. Like, because if you find a piece of yourself in that, like, that is a very big, intimate, and emotional thing, which I would think is absolutely tied to spirituality.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I found, like, I say, like, kink is my church, because, like, that's how I've really connected on a really deeper level to people. Like, I love my friends and stuff like that, but we're never going to have that intimacy that sometimes I would have with a stranger or like my regulars. So you would never do it with a friend? I would, but none of them kind of have crossed that threshold yet. And so I don't know if it's because they're scared or like they're kind of, a lot of them are vanilla. Sure. And so they're not very... That you know of. Right. But yeah, most of them are pretty scared of like kink, and that's kind of like why I'm there to also educate them off duty. But that it's not a scary place, and it is what you said, like nurturing and everything. And it could be strict, and it could be, painful at times, but that's all in the fun of things after you negotiate with each other. Absolutely. Yay. Consent is sexy. 100%. Like 1,000%. Yeah, the most sexy. All right, so I kind of want to like quote RuPaul just because I really love what they say about drag. Quote, drag is really making fun of identity. We are shapeshifters. We're like, okay, today I'm this, now I'm a cowboy, and now I'm this. Transgender people take identity very seriously. Their identity is who they are. I come from the school of I will do whatever I want to do at any time and change whatever. For a drag performer, drag can be an escape, a performance, a form of self-expression, or it could make them feel more like their true self. Have you resonate with this quote?
Yeah, I mean, like, a shapeshifter definitely hits home a lot. Kind of what I said earlier about, it's you. If you can like dream it, you can execute it. And I think that is so incredible. And then also, like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, if you were a drag artist, like, everyone wants to dress up in a way that makes them feel powerful. Like, and to quote another thing that RuPaul says before, where it's like, I mean, it's cliche that he says at this point, but like, you're all born naked and the rest is drag. But it's true, like, I mean, what you do informs us. Like, if you're in a suit, that informs us about who you are. If you're, in overalls painting a house, that informs us who you are, what you're, like, there's so many layers of it, and this is just like a heightened version of that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I absolutely resonate with that, and I would even go to expand to say that, like, it is such an amazing, and you put it perfectly, it's such an amazing spiritual journey. Like, how I have been from my beginning of drag and understanding to now, and just like getting better with makeup, because there is not a photo online that exists these days. And like just like learning about myself, and like and meeting other people and how they perceive it and what they want to do with it. It's so unbelievably rewarding, and so yeah, I really resonate with just being a shapeshifter and having fun with it.
I have seen a lot of ponies in like the kink world, and none of them have looked like this. Like, no, but seriously, like, I love that. Well, you're a unicorn, so that's even one step further.
I think you've seen some unicorns in this society.
Not as glittery as you.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of shaping. Maybe not.
No, but I feel like that goes with your Glitteress like persona. I just love that.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here. And answering my questions today. Is there anything that you would like to say to my viewers?
Yes, I want to say support your local drag artists. Look out to your state. The queer fight is never over. It's always going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I know it can feel defeated at times, but I always use an example. Think of the trans conversation 10 years ago to now. So no matter how bad it, rough it feels, it's okay to express yourself. Even if your family does not accept you, you will find a family, your chosen family, that is going to be way more powerful than anything. And I hope you find the love that you deserve, because finding your own power, whether it be drag or whatever medium you use to find your power, find your queerness, because it exists and it is okay. And there's a whole community that's going to be there that want the exact same things they can do. So,
wonderfully put. Where can people find you?
I am on Instagram if you want to follow. I am _Glitteress.
We'll have your links in the
Oh, beautiful. They're going to be in the box below. I don't want to spell it for you.
But I was going to say, like, do you have a specific resident?
Yes. Every Tuesday I have a show at the Bayou in WeHo. It is a little drag queen bingo with Tiffany Vogue. I bet every Tuesday I'm gonna have shows all over LA all month, and I'm always around, bopping around. I'm kind of a workaholic and workhorse. And so follow my Insta and you can see what I'm doing.
Amazing. And then lastly, do you have the link that you wanted to promote later on?
In August, I will be doing an annual fundraiser. It is going to be to the ACLU to defend against the anti-trans bills and make sure those do not go through, and aid the organizations that are fighting against the trans bills that are up for vote, that are going to try to condemn trans people in their states across the US. So that'll be the lip sync extravaganza. It is so much fun. It is a suit and tie event, so you can dress up, you can feel amazing in what you want to wear. And that'll be in August, and I'll have more details on that too.
And I will also update the links when that time comes to this video.
Yes.
All right, so thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, go ahead and click the subscribe button, share it so that other people can be more educated about drag culture and how it differs from transgender people and cross-dressers alike. Go ahead and follow my Instagram and Twitter at Mara Domina for daily juicy news. Turn on the notification bell so that you know when I have new content out. I post every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time or on live stream. And until next time, be safe, have fun, and keep it fabulous, everyone.
Yes! And
we are gonna have bloopers at the end of this. It's gonna be being unprofessional. Oh my god, so sorry. Okay, go ahead from 6 years now.
beautiful.